We've taken some time to walk through the NetWitness architecture. We've seen what makes the RSA NetWitness platform different than the competitors and what sets it apart. I thought we'd take a couple minutes to walk through a use case and see how NetWitness could have helped detect and mitigate that risk. We're going to talk about web shell. For those who don't understand or don't know, a web shell is a file or program that an adversary right here will throw on that web server that will allow that adversary to have remote control or allow that web server to respond to commands that the adversary sends. In this case, our adversary has added a set of files onto the web server that they can issue commands to, and the web server will do appropriate actions based upon what it's being asked to do. In our case, the adversary placed those files on there and has sent commands to enumerate exactly what's running on that server. Once they've enumerated that, they will then use that server as a jump-off point and try to laterally move through the network to find more information and find the keys that he's looking for. So let's see how NetWitness could have helped there. First off, we have the firewall sending logs. As we learned before, that will then go to a log decoder. Same thing with the web server. We are logging the web server logs and the operating system logs, so that will also go to our log decoder. It's fantastic as a start. I understand the communications that are happening between the two. What I don't know is what's contained in those communications. I understand from a log perspective that I have the attacker's source IP. We know obviously the destination IP of our web server. I know how long they communicated. I know how many times they communicated. What I'm missing is what's inside that communication. If I were to grab the network traffic into a packet decoder, I can now read the communications between the two. I now have a record of what the adversary is sending to that web server, in addition to the communications. This goes back to our earlier example of a phone bill compared to a recording of the conversation. The logs provide me with the phone bill. They provide me with the source address, destination of my web server, amount of times, and the length of the communication. My packet decoder provides me a recording of the conversation. So I can go and look and see exactly what commands were issued to that web shell that's being hosted on my web servers. Once they've got successfully installed, now let's talk about laterally moving. What they've done is they were able to laterally move to one of my workstations. They were able to do a credential dump from memory, which then allowed them to laterally move to a second workstation. Leveraging the endpoint agent running on these workstations, we're able to see exactly the commands issued. PowerShell is a very common method to move between servers. We're able to see exactly what they issued and see how they moved and the commands. In leveraging what NetWitness can do, we talked about those capture time correlations that happen upon capture. The first thing we would have seen up at the packet decoder was that there was a send command, but they never actually asked for anything. That is very indicative of a web shell. So the first thing that would have happened is the packet decoder would have tagged that traffic as possible web shell. So first off, as soon as the analyst logged in, they could have seen in the threats that there was a possible web shell. From there, they could have investigated and seen the rest. Now also, using correlations out of the endpoint hybrid, that would have also shown that there were PowerShell commands being issued that allowed me to walk between machines. Now one thing to take into consideration or take note here, Workstation 1 never had to click a link or do anything from the web server's perspective. Once the adversary was successfully in and installed on the web server, they then pretty much had carte blanche access to walk through the rest of the network. by using the NetWitness platform, we're able to detect and capture at multiple areas within this attack. We're able to highlight to the analyst many indicators along the way, rather than at the end of the day when someone asking them, hey, something I think is wrong, the analyst already knew it. So this ties back to the rapid detection that NetWitness provides. In addition to the endpoint seeing this traffic, we talked earlier that the UEBA system can detect anomalies on the endpoint through its own ruleless machine learning system. Here we have just one simple example of how NetWitness can detect and raise to the awareness of the analyst of one particular threat. Thank you for your time.